What's up guys, Mark back here with yet another video. Today I've got Sony rumors. But before we get into all that, I just want to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also consider supporting the channel with a Patreon donation. You can find the link in the description box down below. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as many of you know, Sony is going to be doing several different announcements. In London on the 20th, they're going to be making an announcement. They're also going to be at NAB on the 23rd of April, and then they're also having an announcement in June. So first and foremost, what we do know for a fact is that Sony is currently working on two high-end mirrorless cameras. Number one, the first one, we're expecting it to be an extremely high-resolution mirrorless camera that might potentially be the successor to the wildly popular A7R Mark II. But a few people actually kind of think that it might be called the A9. But again, that's purely speculative. That's 100% rumor. We're not really for sure about that yet. And number two, the second camera that they're thinking about working on, as far as the rumors are concerned, is a much lower resolution sensor that is more tailored to speed and accuracy for like sport shooting or something like that. So nothing as high end as something that you would want to use in, say, like a studio, but more of a general all-purpose sports, fast-moving subjects style camera that might be the successor to the A7 Mark II. And the word around the rumor mill is that they might end up calling it the A7 Mark III. So the first bit of tidbit news that we have as far as like what might actually come in that lower resolution sensor or camera is that it might actually burst up to 20 frames per second. Like, what? I mean, that's absolutely insane. I mean, most people were absolutely thrilled with the fact that you could get 11 frames a second and be able to burst with relatively high accuracy, but to actually get 20 frames per second, at this point, by 2018, they're gonna have one that shoots at 30 frames per second, and you'll be able to do full-on movies with it. But here's the real kicker. On this lower resolution camera, it is being rumored that this new camera will actually have 2 card slots. Finally! But that's not all. You also are going to be getting unlimited buffer. Again, it's a rumor, so I don't want everyone to get super duper excited or whatever, but that is the word coming out, that it will in fact have 2 card slots and have an unlimited buffer. Now, I don't know what speed card that's going to require. I'm guessing that they're probably going to be like XQD or something like that, but then again, maybe not. I mean, they do have some pretty fast cards that are still in the SD line, so maybe they've figured something out. Maybe this will just be JPEG. I don't really know. And because they're going to be focusing more on speed and accuracy with this particular camera, the lower resolution one, they're also said to be developing yet another newer, more capable autofocusing system. Most of us are pretty damn happy with what we have already, so if they are actually able to come out with something that's even more capable, color me sold. Now let's talk about the quote-unquote A7R Mark II successor, which, like I said, has been rumored to maybe be called the Sony A9. And the biggest news with that particular rumor is that this camera might actually be 70 megapixel resolution. That is just absolutely crazy. And obviously this camera is going to be designed most specifically for high-end studio portrait professional photographers. But just so that you all know, that is not like one of these far-fetched rumors, that it has actually been confirmed in the past. Someone had said from Sony that they were in fact working on an absolute massive 70 megapixel sensor. So there is a very good chance that that particular sensor could end up showing up in one of the brand new cameras that they're planning on announcing this year. Now, just to be clear, there have been a couple of like certifications done by the Chinese MIT, and Sony has filed a couple of patents with that company. I guess that's basically like our version of the patent office, and they have in fact registered a new A7 line or camera. I don't know which one that one is going to be. They may end up registering another one for the, whatever it's going to be called. Some people are saying that it's going to be an A7R Mark II successor. Some people are saying that it's going to be a completely new beast. That's the reason it's not actually making any hits, or it's not registering with some of us, because most of the model numbers for the A7 line of cameras have all started with this like WW and then a 3.2 and then like 4 or 5 other numbers after that. Obviously, if they've only filed one, there is a very good chance that the extremely high resolution camera may end up just being a completely different model number altogether. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be mostly excited, at least my viewers are going to be mostly excited about those A7, A9 style cameras, but they are planning to release yet another, sort of like a Handycam or something like that. Now, some people think that that's going to come out in London at their April 20th announcement, but even more was the fact that they might be doing a new A-mount camera and talking about that in London. So it may end up being that they do the A-mount announcement in London and then they do the camcorders at NAB in Las Vegas on the 23rd. Now, it's not been confirmed as of yet, but they do plan to have an announcement sometime in June. No one really knows exactly for sure what the date is going to be, so once they actually confirm it, you guys will be the first ones to know. But as of this point right now, there is no official date for that June announcement. Now, the juicy bits about the lower resolution A7 camera, whatever that ends up being called, perhaps the A7 Mark III, is that not only is it going to be probably a 20 megapixel sensor, so they are going to be keeping roughly the same, resolution for that sensor, but here it is, it says 20 frames per second burst, which again is nuts, but we're also looking at a potential dual card slot, a joystick on this particular camera, A6500 touch-like features on the screen that are said to actually be including the menus. Holy crap. So while I'll give it to Sony that the touchscreen and the A6500 was, I guess, okay as far as autofocus was concerned, I really wanted to see that touch autofocus implemented in some way, shape, or form in that camera for the menus. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. But there is a glint of hope. Thank you, God. There's also a chance that Sony is going to be releasing 2 new lenses at some point during this year as well. The first one is supposed to be a brand new G Master lens, which is going to be 16-35 f2.8. And I'm assuming that that particular lens is probably going to be an E-mount, but I am not 100% for sure on that. The other lens that they're talking about releasing is going to be a 100-400 millimeter. So while all of this is really a lot of information, you have to understand that Sony has hyped up some pretty big dates and some pretty big announcements in the past, and while some of them have been extremely exciting and everyone really got their hopes up, sometimes Sony just hypes a bunch of stuff up and then literally lays nothing on us. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and if you did, don't forget to thumbs up the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content, and also don't forget to support the channel on Patreon. If you got a couple of extra bucks, I would totally appreciate that. Also, if you prefer to get something out of the deal, I've also got lots of photography gear that you can now buy. I will have all those links down in the description box below, so make sure you head on over there and see if you find something that you like. At any rate, guys, thanks again for stopping here at the Photo Video Show. I'm your host, Mark Puckett, and I will see you guys again on the next one. Peace.